This video is not about being angry at anybody, because the solution to this is to keep your cool. Go watch my video. But it's also to understand how the game works. You got to understand how the game works. They say, there's a saying, the devil's greatest trick is convincing you that the devil doesn't exist. Actually, I don't think that's true at all. I think that the devil's greatest trick was confusing you about who the devil actually is. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Shayla Jade. This is Chocolate Cake 101. It is, 4 or 5 in the morning. People are starting to get up. It's Thanksgiving, and everyone's getting up, and they're going to start cooking soon. I'm cooking right now, and I said, if I don't record this video, it's not going to get done. I've done this 3 times. This is my 3rd time recording this video, but I can't find the recordings when I went to edit it. So I'm literally in my pajamas. Sorry, not sorry. The time that it's going to take me to get ready to record this video is the time that it's going to take me to change my mind about doing it. So here we are. Please, I say all that to say, please pardon my nooks and crannies. So I wanted to do a video about playing the devil's advocate, or the power play between good and evil in our society, because there's a lot of fear going on. And depending on who you listen to, this is happening, that's happening, this is good and this is bad, Democrat, Republican, blood, Crips, good, bad, right, wrong, left, right. And I talked about this in a few videos. So I did a video, propaganda and polarity, because I told you that the world plays off of your fear of good and evil, your fear of separation. I've also talked to you about this in the videos, You're Gonna Need a God, and You're Gonna Need a God Part 2. So feel free to check out any of those videos. Links are above. The reason why this is so important is because I need you guys to understand that we emotionally get ourselves involved in wars that have nothing to do with us, and you end up catching stray bullets that had nothing to do with you. You have no business being wounded. You're over here, and this is not even about you. Quit catching stray bullets. The purpose of this video, once again, is to make you guys aware of the power play, the propaganda, and the money that is made between separating you from yourself, separating God and the devil. And it's so interesting because of all the things that are going on in our world right now. When you get the full story, the lines between who's right and who's wrong, what's good, what's bad, good versus evil, the lines begin to blur when you get the whole story. And I think that's the point. You know what I'm saying? So this starts with, because I want to make sure I get everything. So a few weeks ago, I decided to go to Argentina. Buenos Aires, of all places. It just kind of worked out that way. Interesting enough, if you guys are not aware of Argentina, Argentina has a history of welcoming criminals. I say it like that because it's not as if they're like saying, hey, you're a criminal, come over here. But during World War II, when the Nazis were starting to lose, a lot of them retreated to Argentina. So, and I knew this before I went there, but it was interesting. It was so beautiful and interesting to see, because when I went there, you saw this huge European influence. I think I'm going to insert a video or picture of like what their Congress looks like. So on one hand, I was annoyed that I was seeing America outside of America. But on the other hand, it was comforting because, you know, I really didn't plan for the trip. I was really trying to go to Thailand. And then when that didn't work out, I closed my eyes and picked a spot on the map. And it just so happened to be Argentina, Buenos Aires. I flew business class the whole way. It was beautiful. I laid my chair and the way back. I laid my chair back all the way into a bed. I had my own little pod. They brought me beef ribs and rotisserie chicken, and they kept my champagne glass filled and brought me ice cream. It was beautiful. But I was watching, on the way there I watched Sinners, and on the way back I watched Wicked. And both of these movies play into what I'm talking about today, but specifically Wicked. Now, I have never seen either of these movies. I like to wait till I'm like on a plane or doing something to watch certain movies that I haven't seen before. It's like one of the rituals. I'm going to watch one movie I haven't seen before on the plane. That's what I do, if it's a long plane ride. So I'm watching Wicked, and then I'm in Argentina talking to people who have multiple businesses in multiple places of the world. and who are explaining to me that their businesses failed in America because of who the politicians running the show were at the time. So the one gentleman that I was talking to was talking about the pharmaceutical industry and how he had a cash on delivery pharmacy company, and there were about 8 drugs that turned into narcotics once the Michael Jackson thing happened, and now all of a sudden their businesses are illegal and they have to flee. Not flee, but flee. See what I'm saying? Not flee, but they can't do business in America anymore. And that's what evil is. Evil is in the eye of the beholder, of who's in charge and how it benefits them. And so we live in this world that we think is run on morals, but this world is not run off of morals. This world is run off of mechanics. And the people at the top know this, but the people at the bottom are so, oh my God, so emotionally driven. So in my previous videos, I've talked about polarity. I think like the propaganda and polarity video, I talked about polarity. You don't really talk about the age of Aquarius and evolving. I talked about this too. I have a whole video about the age of Aquarius because it sounds like the dumbest shit you've ever heard. But then when you actually study what's going on with alignment and planetary alignment and the age of the people, you understand that this world is not brand new. They've been doing this over and over and over and over and over and over again. And the only thing that changes is your perception of how you view things. I say that saying the age of Aquarius is about, watch my full video for the full explanation on the age of Aquarius. But basically, we are in a time of planetary alignment where things that were hidden from you based off of fear, age of Pisces, smoke and mirrors, fear, can no longer be hidden from you. And you see that every day right now when you look at the internet and there's all these crazy stories, fake news, misinformation, people saying whatever they want, people doing whatever they want, just radical movement all around us. And it looks scary, but what it is, it's a breaking down of an old system and a building of a new one back up. So for example, this girl was saying she thinks it's criminal that anyone can just go online and say anything. And I was explaining to her that what's happening is there's been a lot of lies. One group or 2 groups or 3 groups have been controlling the narrative. So for us to get back to whatever neutral might look like, we have to put all the information out there. And we are learning in that sense to trust ourselves. When you can't trust the government and when you can't trust, I don't know, these people, you can't trust those people, you are learning that this whole time you have been separating truth from yourself and seeing it through people outside of you. Like people will literally tell you to believe them over your lying eyes. Like, don't believe your intuition. So this is a time of rebuilding your intuition back up, rebuilding your relationship with God, rebuilding a relationship with God, the God that is in you. This is a union. See what I'm saying? So when it comes to good versus evil, that is an illusion of a separation because God is everything, including you. But if I can separate you from yourself, I can take away your power, your spiritual power, your energetic power, and your money. And that is the game of the dimension that you live on. And as we evolve, and everybody's evolving, and I've said this so many times, the good guys, the bad guys, everybody is growing out of the situation. But as we evolve, we're moving into a place where a lot of these things won't be separate anymore. But they really, if you actually see the full story, the lines blur, they're not separate in the first place. And you're coming back into union with yourself. I want to talk to you guys about this because I don't think people realize there's a power play on you being crazy, on you being deranged, on you being mentally unstable, upset with the world, thinking that everything is woe is me, thinking everything is doomsday, thinking everything is ending. There is a reason why mental health is such a huge issue in our society, and there's also a reason why it's ignored. There's a reason why poverty and hatred, there is a purposeful division on gender, on race, on Black people hating each other, and Black people hating white people, and white people hating Black people. This is done on purpose. So when I say that this world is not run on morals, it's run on mechanics, you understand why. Because the things that are pushed in our world, especially if you look on the internet, is hate, is fear, is drama, is people, is confusion, is chaos. And chaos is the first emotion that comes when a world is being built. When you have a baby, a Black womb, when you have a womb, when you have a black hole out there, the first thing that happens is it's chaos. You have no idea what's going on. It's the moon. It's the dark. Because it's still trying to form order into what's really going to happen, into what's going to form. And that is the world that we are living in right now. And your job is to not get caught up in the bullshit. And that's why I'm here, because I don't want them to confuse you and separate you from who you are. Now let's get into this. So that is the polarity. There has to be, if there's a good, there has to be a bad. If there's up, there has to be a down. If there's left, there has to be a right. If there's black, there has to be a white. Blood's Crips, here and there, but there's always an in-between, a gray area. And this is where you will stand. Be still and know that I am God. Stand in the gray area and see how it benefits you. Or don't, and don't. So it's very interesting because a lot of us are going back and looking at stories like World War II and the story of Hitler and the Nazis. And there's so many people that are actually reading Hitler's book. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that are reading his book and going back and using AI to translate what he was saying. And you realize that the only reason why they were able to even power play on what was going on with Germany is because people didn't know the truth. They couldn't understand German. If you listen to his speeches, you start to be like, things that make you go home. It's crazy. Yeah, we live in a crazy world. I'm trying to tell you, we live in a crazy world. So what is evil? Like I said, so what's evil, or what's considered evil, is really just subjective on who's in control, what the laws are while they're in control, and what the people who control the media can convince the world to believe in. And that is the truth. So one thing that I was saying, especially in today's time, there are people on different scales that get paid to sell a narrative, or that are in a specific group. I call them gangs, but they're just groups or organizations that are incentivized, and through, whether it's through money, power, or fear of their life, to make you believe a certain narrative. This could happen in politics. This can happen in celebrity world. This happens in the upper corners of the 1%, but it also happens every day when you go on the internet, when you see someone trying to sell you a product that they may or may not use, or they want to sell you a reason to hate somebody. Candace Owens, she's probably one of the hated people, and the most hated people, most hated influencers, most hated journalists in our world, but she's also the #1 podcaster. I've been an avid Candace Owens fan ever since she did that deep dive and we were trying to figure out if Kamala was black. She ain't black at all. Now, I have been a listener of her for longer than that. But I've been an avid listener. Like, I want to hear her stories. Like, I can't miss this podcast since then. And a lot of the world feels that way. And that is because, so hold on, let me back up. I lost a friend through Candace Owens once. I'm helping you out. You don't want to be my friend because I'm listening to Candace Owens. And I get it. We are taught in the Black community to stick together, even though we don't, and to hate people who the Democrats tell us to hate. But that's part of exactly what I'm talking about. It is a common thing okay, so let me back up. In the influencer world, social media, there are websites. I've participated in them, not many, but I have participated in them, that will pay you to promote certain brands and to talk about certain things, including people. I mean, we're talking money, y'all. I remember being offered $600 to wash my face with a certain product. You can go on my social media and find a few things, but then a lot of them are old because I kind of got out of that world. This wasn't me. It wasn't wash my face. It was a certain makeup brand that wanted to pay me $600 to use their makeup. I don't wear makeup. Let's be authentic here. Now, don't get it twisted. It's stupid to not take the opportunity, so I did apply for it, the position. But at the end of the day, that's what I'm saying. It's not about what you do. It's about what you sell. So there are also many influencers who are paid to set certain narratives. So you'll hear so many people saying, oh, this person's bad and this person's scum and they ain't shit. Those same people are getting paid to say that. They're part of groups. It's easy money. It's easy money. Not only will you get the paid, but your page will get pushed for that narrative. So we look online and we call it rage bait. That's exactly what it is, because our world is ran off of fear. It's rage bait. I am purposefully saying something to get your attention. People all over the world get paid. I saw a post the other day about how they're seeing fake accounts that have like faces of Black women or faces of whatever, and inciting gender wars with black men to keep it separate, or race war, you know what I'm saying? Race wars with other races, but these people aren't even who they say they are. They don't look like what they say they look like, and they really don't care, but they are paid to keep you in a low energy. Now, why is this? Because fear creates food. Fear is food. I've talked about this in my vampire. I did a video about eating off of your haters. I also did a video about energy vampires. Fear is one of the oldest frequencies in this universe. If I can scare you, I have now taken your power. If I can convince you that you are powerless, I have now taken your power. And I need you guys to understand that's exactly what Black History Month is about. They don't give a shit about honoring you every month. What they want is, because they know that you are indigenous in so many areas, so they know that you are more of a majority than you think you are. So if I can convince you to be a victim, I have now taken your power. I've also now made you a consumer and a customer, because you're going to buy my products because I told you you're ugly and you need this to be pretty. I told you that iPhones are cool, so if you want to be cool, you got to buy an iPhone. So now everybody wants an iPhone. I have convinced you that vaping is cool, so if you want to be cool, you got to vape. Remember Joe Cool with the cigarettes? I'm cool. This is a mind game, and so many people get in this mind game for no reason, because it ain't even that cool. iPhones aren't even that cool. You look at your the phones that the Asians have, those phones are way cooler, man. It's a mind, because the shit ain't even that cool. As cute as you think an iPhone is, they have phones. I don't even remember the phone it is. I'll post if I see it. They have phones way cooler than iPhone. But they've convinced you that iPhone is the greatest, the latest and the greatest, because it's popular. And this is what happens. So they've convinced you that people like Candace Owens are racist against your own people and sexist against your own people. And most of you, this is how I can tell when someone says, oh, I hate her, you're disgusting for even watching her. I know that you're a follower and you haven't even listened to her episode. Because she might say some shit that is not in alignment with how you think, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So the world is convinced. So people that don't like her are convinced that the only reason why she's the number one podcaster in the world is because she is racist and everybody else is racist too. And who told you that? Y'all just believe. Some people will just follow the okie doke for no reason, instead of being a thinker and going and listening to why. I think that's probably why I first started listening to her and other people, is when I hear somebody that the masses hate, my Aquarius self says, well, why though? Let me actually see what this person's talking about. And then you realize that the world hates them because people in higher powers are pushing you to hate her because she's saying some shit. So I don't want to talk about her too much, even though I love her. I don't want to talk about her too much. But I will say, in listening to her podcast in the first place, I realized that the reason why people don't like her is because she does simple journalistic stories that turn into deep dive rabbit holes about the 1%. And by the way, if you ever see this, Candace, I just want you to know, you ain't breaking. The shit that you're saying is not breaking news. Everybody in the spiritual and occult community already knew everything that you're saying. We just don't care, because we live on a hierarchy of a different law, spiritual law. So we don't care. And I think I've talked about that in You're Gonna Need a God. And when I say don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, I don't know what it is with this world when you don't like somebody, you completely ignore them and everything they say is garbage. That's actually bullshit. And you kind of throw yourself under the bus when you're like that. So for example, she talks about pro-life. I'm not pro-life at all. I'm not pro-life at all. I think that whole thing is just another way of separating people. I think that if you have a baby, I'm not going to be there to help you raise that baby. So you got to do what you got to do. And I guarantee you, all those people that are pro-life and picketing and telling you that you are going to hell for throwing out your baby, they're the same people that are calling your baby a nigger at the grocery store. And they're the same people that are not going to help you they're the same people that tease you for having food stamps, or tease you for needing help, or tease you for being at the bottom, because they really don't care. They're not going to babysit. They're not going to be there when you're locking yourself in the bathroom and crying. They just need slaves. They need bottom workers. They need bottom feeders. Everybody needs a bottom feeder. That's how the world works. It's mechanics, remember? They need people at the bottom. So they're not pro-life because they care about the life of your baby. They're pro-life because they need bottom workers. They're the same people that are bombing Gaza right now. They don't care. Congo, Sudan, Kenya, wherever these huge genocides are, if we are really pro-life, let's save the lives that are really there. Let's save the lives that need saving now, not the individuals who are not even here yet and that understand that this is a portal and that portal might close at any moment. I could do a whole build on this pro-life, pro-choice thing. That's not what this conversation's about. We get back on topic. So I've already talked about good and evil being subjective to what's going on at the time. And there's this saying, when it comes to people who are like seen as a hero or seen as a good guy, they talk about how if you live long enough, you'll live long enough to see yourself become a villain. And it's really because all this, like I said, is subjective to what's going on at the time. Like everybody was so huge on Obama, and we still love Obama. But now that he's not the president anymore, you see how all these weird things are coming out. You live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Subjective on who the time is and who's in control. Your job is to understand what's going on and understand how to emotionally regulate yourself through what's going on. I have a video, how to keep your cool in any situation, so you can check that out. But the 3 points that I talk about are: 1, understanding from whose mouth you're getting the information. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on in throughout history where someone will tell you a story about someone and you create a narrative about them based off of what that person told you. And most of the time, that person is the opposition. If you could hear the story from the opposition's point of view, you might get a little bit of a different information. You might feel a little differently. So for example, it's been a few years. I kind of got out of reading and studying occult information, and I'm just now getting back into it. But as far as like, we look at stories like the Garden of Eden, the story of Adam and Eve, God is telling you. So if you're reading that story from the Bible, God is telling you that story. But I think the story is the story of Enki and Enlil. If you hear story, the Garden of Eden, from that point of view, which I believe is more of, I don't know, I wouldn't say that's the devil's point of view of what happened in the Garden of Eden, but it is more of a general story of what happened. If you hear that story from the devil's point of view, I think the information that you would hear would be a little bit different. Like, let the devil tell his side of the story. There's this book called Outwitting the Devil, Outsmarting the Devil, Outwitting the Devil, Conversations with the Devil. I've talked about this several times before, but even that story is from the perspective of God. It is like God pretending to be the devil telling you the story. And it's still a great story. I'm not saying it's not good, but what I'm saying is we often hear the side of the story from the person who doesn't like them's point of view. See what I'm saying? It's not that you don't have to believe the story. I just always keep things neutral because you never know what you didn't hear, or that you never know what will be different if you're hearing it from the other person's side. And a lot of times when you do hear the full story, it's a little funny. The person who wanted you to believe this or that. And that's exactly what happens with propaganda and with what's going on in politics. That's why people are very careful whether they listen to Fox News or CNN, because depending on who's telling you the story, you're going to get a different version of it. See what I'm saying? So that's one thing. You have to understand who's telling the story. You have to keep that in mind. You have to ask questions about what is your objective in here? What are you wanting? Where did you come from? A lot of history is told from a standpoint of the winner or the person who has access to this area. So for example, with World War II, the story that Americans are told in school is very different from the story that the Japanese are told in school, and very different from what Russians are taught in school. And if you get a full story, America starts looking like the bad guy. But in our literature books, we weren't the bad guys. We were the victims. We bombed Japan because of Pearl Harbor. But in the history books, it doesn't talk about how America antagonized Japan, and purposefully made them bomb us, not made them, hooks them into bombing us. So in our history books, like when you look at World War II, Pearl Harbor and America's involvement in the war happened because Japan bombed us. Like, they did it, they hurt us, we're the victims. But it doesn't talk about how we antagonized them to the point where they felt threatened so much to bomb us. It also doesn't talk about how we wanted this to happen so that we could join a war. It also doesn't talk about all the false flags that America that we do. A lot of false flags. doing something and pretending it was someone else. It's almost like when your kids are fighting and your kid says, "Hey mom, so and so hit me and they did this, wah, 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 wah." And then you talk to your other child and you're like, "Yeah, they did this and they did that, and that's why I hit them." I think we get the point. So you have to look at who's telling the story, and you don't have to believe or not believe. I would just stay neutral and get the full story. Like I say, stay neutral. How does this benefit me? I don't have to go hating you because of this. I can get the full story. The number 2 thing I would say is, who's benefiting from this? Who's benefiting from this? So for example, they talk about, I think we just learned recently that it was, what's her name? I'm going to mess her name up. Jalene Maxwell. You know who I'm talking about. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Her father, which I believe his name is Robert Maxwell. I could have this wrong, but it's okay. It's still her dad. Was the head in charge, the author of the literature of our history books in school. Isn't that crazy? So back then, right? He's the good guy. He's the hero. He's writing these books. He's signing off. He might not be writing it, but he's signing off and putting his name on these literature books that teach us, that give us the curriculum in the United States schools. But in today's world, that would be horrible. That would be... See what I'm saying? Good guy then, bad guy now. Good, evil. Different times. Bad guy. As a matter of fact, I believe at the end of his life, he was a villain, even though we still use his literature. And then it makes you, things that make you go, So who's signing off on this? Who's allowing this to still happen? And why? Because it's done on purpose. I swear to God, it's who's the good guy here? Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Whose fault is this? Not fault, but you see what I'm saying. The number 3 thing you guys want to remember is there's always a need for opposition. They need someone to be at the bottom. And if all the information was given freely, people at the bottom will have more power, and a lot of them wouldn't be at the bottom. Maybe the people at the top would be at the bottom. So things are done purposefully to keep you in opposition. It's called, what do we say? Ooh, hold on, I gotta show my ears. What did we say? Rage bait. Rage bait. I have to keep the genders divided. I have to keep the races, the sexes, the classes, the countries. I have to keep you guys divided. Because if you guys were together, you'd be unity and I wouldn't be on top. That's ending, by the way. That's ending. That's another thing that's ending with Age of Aquarius. Like I said, people are starting to see that separation is an illusion and that the power is within them and that it's okay. And I've said this to so many people. If you have a problem trusting the world around you, it's because you don't trust yourself. So it's not about trusting the world and being able to trust your government. It's about being able to trust yourself. I forgot to say this. This video is not about being angry at anybody, because the solution to this is to keep your cool. Go watch my video. But it's also to understand how the game works. You got to understand how the game works. Number 4, the need for a villain. The need for a villain. And that kind of plays into what I was just saying about the need for separation. There's always a need to blame someone. So we called Lucifer the devil this eon. But the next eon, Lucifer's not going to be the devil. Lucifer, his name literally means light giver, light bringer. He was literally one of God's greatest companions. By the way, I forgot to mention this. God and the devil are not beefing. They never have been and they never will be. And to believe in that is a distortion. And like I said, we don't understand how God works. This is again where you have to use your mind, because if God is all-knowing, all-being, all-having, never started, never ending, Alpha, Omega, I don't need anybody because I'm whole. Why would something like that have an adversary? How could something like that have an adversary? There is no such thing as you can beat me, baby. We're not even on the same playground. I'm not at war with you. You are not my enemy. You are not my competition. God is not in competition with anybody, because there's no such thing as competition. And the only reason why we believe that is because the realm that we are in, we have fallen into polarity. And once you evolve outside of that mindset, you will see that everything is one and there is no opposition to God. The devil is a part of God. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not fighting you, and you're not my enemy. This is not your world. Again, we were lied to about how God works, and that's why we have all these misconceptions of what happens. I went to My friend passed away. Very good loved one of mine. He's an ex, but he's more of a friend. We've been friends for a decade. And no disrespect to the pastor, but the guy running the funeral, the pastor, I don't even know, the church leader that was running the show was a childhood friend of my friend. And he says what everyone says when someone dies. God needed his soldier. God called his soldier home. He needed him. What the fuck does that even mean? What does God need from you that he can't get from you on earth? If he needs you in the first place, because he doesn't need anything. He's full. He's whole. But even if he did, how would God need that more than taking a child's father away from them? Does that make any sense to you guys? Am I crazy? Does that make any sense to you guys? I am God. I am all powerful. I don't need anything. I don't need anything. I don't need to damn you to hell. I don't need to burn you in a fiery furnace. I don't need to hate you. I don't need to fight you. I don't need to create genocide. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but the whole thing is a distortion of knowledge. And I'm not saying that it's not true, but I'm saying that the story is used against you and it's not even true. Oh, don't get me started. So you need to understand that there's a need for a villain. There's a need to blame, to put the power outside of you. That is separation. But that also makes you a victim. And you don't want to be a victim. I have a video about victims, remember? We don't want to be a victim. So let go of making something or someone the villain. You hold the power just as God does and always has. Good morning. Or not good morning, but good day. I'm creating a video. You can do your thing. I kind of am cooking. I'm almost done. Y'all could be here or not. I don't care. I'm doing my video. Also, I've said 10,000 times, we know this, that fear is the oldest currency. If I can keep you afraid, I can control you and I can control the narrative of what happens in our world. So again, fear, money, currency. My last thing that I want to talk about is how to spot the bad guy. So if you really want to make somebody the villain, I'm going to tell you how to spot the villain. I feel like this should be the easiest thing in the world. This doesn't make sense that people are confused at what's right or what's wrong. But let me just give you a few short things. The person that doesn't want to put all the cards on the table to figure things out is the villain. The person that avoids the truth is the villain. The person that wants to, it's one of the oldest tactics in the world to use emotion or to start name calling or to get off task when you're trying to come to a union and to come to a conclusion. So when we're fighting, and don't get it twisted, that's not the number one indicator, because people do get caught up in emotions, even if they're telling the truth. But a lot of times someone who is trying to deflect from actually putting all their cards on the table will use crying as a manipulation tactic, or calling you names, or getting overly angry, because those things will take precedence over the truth, because it's drama, it's dramatic, it's in your face, it's the biggest thing that you have to know, that you have to de-escalate first before we can get back to the truth, is getting people back in a calmer state, right? So, and that's one of the main reasons why so many people love, I can't say her name right now because people around me hate her, but the girl I was just talking about earlier. She puts all the cards out on the table. She's not afraid to pull up her phone and be like, see, this is the text message. This is what this politician said to me. This is why they're trying to kill me. She's not afraid to do that. So you always want to look for the person who is not, to me, it's common sense. When people want to come to a conclusion and to come to a union, see how it's getting light behind me? Daylight's coming. I've left this for. They put all their cards on the table and they say, this is what happened in the timeline, what they did. They're not afraid to show text messages or what's going on in the world. They'll pull up everything. They're not afraid to call people. They're not afraid to show you the proof. People who are lying or want to create the division will blatantly lie on purpose, knowing they're lying and not even caring. False in court. That being said, I think I'm done. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. We are in the age of Aquarius, where a lot of truths are all the truth is being revealed. This is the age of, Aquarius is about free thinkers. Aquarius is an air sign. Air is about the mind. Mind is about using your mind to control your emotions. Not that we don't care about our emotions, but that we understand that our emotions have been ruling what's been going on for a long time, which is When I said that the world is ran on morals, that's emotions. But now the world is starting to be understood that this is about mechanics. When I say mechanics, we're talking about the math of the world. So look at your thumb. That's a birthmark. Look at your thumb. Look at your eyes, your head, your whole body, the flowers, the sky. Everything in this world started from math. Fibonacci sequence, the Fibonacci spiral. Fibonacci starts at one place, but it really doesn't start. It goes round and round and round. It's like a swirl. And the degree between each line and each swirl is a mathematical equation. And it starts and it goes like it doubles or whatever by whatever that mathematical equation is. And I used to know, I used to tell you all the numbers of the Fibonacci. I can't right now because I said I'm out of practice. But that's how the world works. Everything around you in our realm, in this third dimension and this third density is a mathematical equation. It's math and science. So if you were bad at math, ooh. So you have to understand that there are laws. And if you don't understand the laws, if you don't understand the math, you're not understanding how the world works. But Age of Grace, we are learning, we are growing. But first we have to sit back on our emotions so that we can see what's really good. You can't make decisions from a place of anger or fear or grief or jealousy or hatred. So we have to control our emotions. I'm done. This is the third time I've done this video. This time, it sticks. I'm going to mention, even though it's still not open, my book, 31 Ways to Flow. This is a book that it's a free download, even though right now it's not open. But if you see the link in the description, it's the website is back up and everything's back going. 31 Ways to Flow talks about over 31 ways to stabilize your vagus nerve, your state of being, which will help you with your emotions. I know it sounds like something small, but it's actually a huge part in helping you live your day-to-day life. I'm going to go because, like I said, I got people and I got food waiting on me. I'm Shella Jade. This is Chocolate Cake 101. Peace.